All right, so are you ready to dive into something pretty fascinating today? We're talking all about AI and how it's shaking up the legal world. There's a lot of buzz out there, about AI transforming the way lawyers work. But if we're being honest, the evidence is kind of all over the place.
Yeah, it's true. The field is evolving so fast that it's tough to sort the real game changers from the hype.
Exactly. And I think we all remember that case last year with the lawyer who used ChatGPT and cited a bunch of fake cases in court. It was a pretty big deal and a good reminder that we need to approach AI with some caution.
Definitely. It's a powerful tool, but it's not a magic bullet.
So today we're going beyond those attention-grabbing headlines and really getting into the nitty-gritty of a new study that caught my eye. It focuses on two specific types of AI that are making a real impact: reasoning models, like OpenAI's O1 preview, and something called Retrieval Augmented Generation, or RAG for short, which is used in tools like Velex's Vincent AI.
What's really cool about this study is that it looks beyond just whether AI can make lawyers faster. It actually explores whether these tools can make us better at our jobs, improving the quality of the legal work itself.
And spoiler alert, the findings are pretty surprising, even for someone like me who's always excited about new tech. But before we jump into the juicy stuff, let's back up a bit and lay out how AI in law has evolved, kind of like setting the scene for our deep dive.
It's like a story with two chapters. The first chapter, which really took off in late 2022 and went on until mid-2024, was all about tools like ChatGPT and GPT-4. Remember those? These models were trained on a massive amount of text and code learning to predict what word would come next in a sequence.
And they can spit out these paragraphs that sound like a human wrote them. Is that amazing?
Yeah.
But then there's that whole hallucination problem, like we saw with that lawyer and the fake cases. These early models can sometimes just make stuff up, which obviously isn't great when you're dealing with real legal matters.
Yeah, that's a serious concern. And while it was exciting to see GPT-4 pass the bar exam in theory, the reality is that passing a test and actually practicing law are two different things. Studies showed that these first-wave tools were good at making things faster, but when it came to the quality of the work, it was a bit hit or miss.
So speed, but not always accuracy.
Yeah.
It makes you wonder, is it worth the risk? Have you actually tried using any of these tools in your own work?
I have. And I'm sure many of our listeners have too. It's been an interesting experience, to say the least. There are times when it feels like magic, but then there are other times when you run into their limitations and it's like hitting a brick wall.
Right. So let's move on to the second chapter of legal AI. This is where reasoning models and RAG come into play. Can you explain those a bit more for us? I have to admit, even I'm still wrapping my head around them.
Absolutely. Let's start with R, which stands for Retrieval Augmented Generation. The main idea is to make sure the AI's analysis is based on real, verified legal sources. So instead of just making up stuff based on patterns it's learned, RAG pulls information directly from things like case law, statutes, regulations, you name it.
So it's basically like having a superpowered research assistant who can instantly comb through tons of legal documents and find exactly what you need.
Exactly. And because it's using these authoritative sources, RA minimizes the risk of those hallucinations that we saw with the earlier models. It also makes the whole process more transparent because you can actually trace the AI's reasoning back to the original source material.
That makes a lot of sense. Now, what about these reasoning models? What makes them different?
Reasoning models are a big step forward in AI's ability to, reason. Instead of just generating text based on statistics, these models are designed to think more like human lawyers. They can break down complex legal problems into steps, analyze the relevant facts and laws, and then build a logical argument to reach a conclusion.
So they're not just giving you a quick answer. They're taking the time to really think things through, just like a human lawyer would.
That's right. And that's a huge deal for legal work because it often involves careful analysis, strategic thinking, and the ability to anticipate what the other side might argue.
Okay, so we've got RAG,
Yeah.
which is all about grounding AI in solid legal sources,
Yeah.
and reasoning models, which are about giving AI that logical thinking power. Now let's get back to that study we mentioned earlier. The big question they were trying to answer was, do these new AI tools actually lead to better quality legal work?
And that's what we'll unpack next. Stay tuned. They put together a group of 127 law students, all from top schools like the University of Minnesota and the University of Michigan.
Wow, so we're talking about some pretty impressive participants.
Yeah, definitely. And they randomly split them up into 3 groups. One group had to do the tasks without any help from AI. The second group used OpenAI's O1 preview, that reasoning model we talked about earlier. And the third group used Velex's Vincent AI, which uses array.
Okay, so that sets up a pretty good comparison. But what did the students actually have to do? I mean, we need to make sure these tasks were actually realistic if we want to take the results seriously, right?
You're absolutely right. They had to do 6 different assignments that were designed to be just like the kind of work lawyers do every day. Things like writing emails to clients, legal memos, analyzing complaints, even putting together a non-disclosure agreement.
So no oversimplified textbook stuff. It was all real-world tasks. That's great. But how did they make sure everyone was using the AI tools the right way? Just giving someone powerful AI doesn't automatically make them a better lawyer.
That's a really good point. The researchers didn't just throw the students in the deep end. They gave them really detailed instructions on how to use each AI tool correctly. Think of it like a user manual and some hands-on training, just like you would get in a real job.
Makes sense.
Yeah.
And when it came to evaluating the work, did they do anything to prevent bias? Like, could the graders tell who was using AI and who wasn't?
Not at all. They were very careful about that. All the assignments were graded anonymously by actual practicing lawyers who had no idea which group each student was in. They even used a standardized rubric to assess the quality of the work, focusing on things like clarity, accuracy, how deep the analysis was, the organization, and the overall professionalism.
Okay, so we've got a well-designed study, realistic tasks, and no bias in the grading.
Yeah.
Sounds pretty solid to me. So let's get to the good stuff. What did they find?
Yeah.
Did these fancy new AI tools actually live up to all the hype?
Well, this is where things get really interesting. Both O1 Preview and Vincent AI actually improved the overall quality of the legal work in 4 out of the 6 assignments.
Oh, that's really impressive. I'll admit I was a bit skeptical going in. I could see AI helping with speed, but actually making the work better. That's pretty amazing.
That's what's so groundbreaking about this study. It challenges this idea that AI is mostly about efficiency and speed. But of course, it's important to remember that these quality improvements weren't seen in every task or for every student. And there are some important things to keep in mind, but the overall trend is clear. AI can really enhance the quality of legal work when it's used in the right way.
Okay, let's dig a little deeper. What specific aspects of quality did the AI tools improve? Give us the details.
The most noticeable improvements were in clarity, organization, and professionalism. It was like having an AI writing coach right there with them. Students who used these tools were more likely to structure their arguments using the IRS method. Issue rule application conclusion. That's a pretty standard approach in legal writing.
So the AI was helping them organize their thoughts and make their arguments more clear and persuasive.
Exactly. It wasn't replacing their legal knowledge or reasoning skills, but it was acting as a guide, helping them shape their work into a more polished and professional product.
That makes sense. It's like having a built-in editor to refine your writing and make your ideas really stand out. But what about the actual legal arguments themselves? Did the AI improve the logic and reasoning behind them?
This is where it gets really interesting. The study found that O1 Preview, the reasoning model, led to more in-depth analysis in a few of the assignments. Students using O1 Preview were more likely to correctly identify the key legal issues, apply the right rules and precedents, and reach well-supported conclusions.
So it wasn't just about making the writing look good, it was actually helping the students think more deeply about the law.
Exactly. And that could be a real game changer for the profession. It suggests that AI could help lawyers develop stronger arguments, anticipate potential counter-arguments, and ultimately make better decisions for their clients.
That's pretty incredible. Hold on. If these AI tools can make the work better, are we saying they're perfect? What about those concerns we talked about earlier about accuracy?
That's an important point, and it's where we need to balance the excitement with a bit of realism. While both AI tools improved quality overall, neither one of them consistently improved accuracy.
Wait, really? I thought ARAG, with all its access to real legal sources, was supposed to fix that whole hallucination problem.
You would think so, right? And while Vincent AI did reduce the number of hallucinations compared to O1 Preview, it didn't consistently lead to more accurate legal analysis. In fact, in one assignment, it actually led to a decrease in accuracy.
Huh, that's a little concerning. Any thoughts on why that might be?
Well, that's something that definitely needs more research. It's possible that the AI is still learning how to handle all the nuances of legal reasoning and that future versions will be better at this. It's also possible that the way the students were using the AI played a role. Maybe they were relying on it too much without double-checking its work.
That's a good point. We have to remember that AI is a tool, and just like any tool, it can be used well or poorly. More research is definitely needed to figure out how to best use these tools in legal practice and make sure we're using them in a way that gets us the most accurate results. Okay, so we've talked about quality. What about speed? Did the AI tools live up to the promise of making lawyers faster?
They did, but maybe not as much as some people might have hoped for. Both AI tools helped save a significant amount of time, but the gains weren't that different from what we saw with those earlier models like GPT-4.
So while speed is definitely a plus, it doesn't seem to be the most important finding here. It sounds like the real value is in that combination of speed and quality.
Absolutely. It's about getting the best of both worlds, producing higher quality work in less time. But there's one more really interesting question that the study looked at. Does AI benefit everyone equally? Or are some lawyers more likely to see benefits than others?
Now, that's a question that I think a lot of people are wondering about. Is AI going to make some lawyers obsolete while giving others superpowers?
This is where the study gets really specific, and I think it's going to hit home for a lot of our listeners. The researchers looked at how the AI tools impacted students with different skill levels, and what they found was pretty fascinating. People who started out with lower initial skills, maybe they were struggling in certain areas, saw the biggest improvement in quality when they used AI.
So it's like AI can help level the playing field, giving those who might be falling behind a chance to catch up. That's pretty encouraging.
It is. It suggests that AI could be really powerful for legal education and training, helping students build their skills and feel more confident. But here's where it gets even more interesting. The study also found that the students who already had really strong skills, the top performers, might actually see their performance dip a little bit when they use AI.
Really? Why would that be? You'd think the best performers would be able to get even more out of AI.
It's possible that highly skilled lawyers have already figured out their own ways of working and thinking that are really efficient. Introducing AI might mess up their flow or make them rely on the tool too much, which could actually hurt their own critical thinking skills.
It's like giving a world-class chef a food processor and telling them to use it for everything.
Yeah.
They might end up with a perfectly diced onion, but they've lost the art of doing it by hand.
That's a perfect analogy. It's not that the food processor or the AI is bad, it's just that it might not be the best tool for every situation, especially for someone who's already a master of their craft.
That makes a lot of sense.
Yeah.
So the takeaway here is that AI is a tool, and just like any tool, it can be used effectively or ineffectively. How much it impacts your work depends on your skill level, the specific task you're doing, and how well you integrate the AI into your current workflow.
Exactly. It's not about replacing human lawyers with robots. It's about empowering lawyers to work smarter, not harder. And that means finding that right balance between human expertise and help from AI.
Okay, I think we've covered a lot of ground here. Let's take a minute to summarize what we've learned about these new AI tools for lawyering. We started off talking about that lawyer who cited all those fake cases because of AI, which was kind of a wake-up call about this whole AI thing.
Yeah, it showed the potential downsides. But then we got into that really cool study that showed how beneficial AI can be in law. The study showed us that tools like RAG and reasoning models can do more than just make us faster. They can actually make the quality of our legal work better.
It's pretty wild to think about.
Ooh.
We've got AI, like Vincent AI, acting like a super researcher thanks to AI, pulling info from actual legal cases. And then there's O1 Preview, which can actually help lawyers with the logic and reasoning part of their job.
And what's even more interesting is that AI doesn't benefit everyone equally. It seems to be the most helpful for lawyers who are still developing their skills.
So it's more about giving lawyers a boost than replacing them altogether.
Right? AI is just a tool. Like a hammer can't build a house by itself. AI can't replace the human judgment and experience that lawyers need.
It's all about finding that balance. Knowing when to use AI for help and when to trust your own gut feeling and experience.
And the key to finding that balance is to keep researching and experimenting. We need to keep testing and figuring out how to best integrate AI into what we do as lawyers to make sure we're using it responsibly and effectively.
So if AI is already doing all this in law, what's next? Will law school even be a thing in a few years? Will we be seeing robots arguing cases in court?
Those are the big questions. And while we don't know for sure, I think it's pretty safe to say that the legal profession is about to change in a big way.
It's definitely an exciting time to be a lawyer. We're seeing all these new tools and skills emerging that could totally change how legal work gets done.
And as this technology keeps getting better, it's important for all of us to stay informed and be ready to adapt. We need to be proactive in figuring out how AI is impacting our own areas of practice and keep learning and growing so we can succeed in this new world of law.
Absolutely. We can't just ignore it. We have to be open to the possibilities while also being aware of the challenges that AI brings to the table. So what do you think about AI in the future of law? Head over to our website and share your thoughts. We'd love to hear from you. And thanks for joining us on this deep dive into the world of AI and law. Until next time, keep that curiosity going.